Well, good evening. I'm Jim McGinnis. I hope you are well. This is called Notes on the First Amendment. That's something I hold very dear. I hope this finds you well, and I hope this helps you out in some way. Freedom implies that there is a certain amount of goodness within a person. Not necessarily greatness, but goodness. There is no claim that each of us will do great things, just our own things. My old man, now, he was a generous soul. He was always helping people. I remember saying, "Dad, you didn't have to do that." And he said, "I know. If I had to, I wouldn't have done it." The first sentence of the First Amendment to the Constitution, in the list of our liberties, starts, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof." Our founders believed that our freedom, is a spiritual notion, driven by virtue, by goodness, and by love. So they built safeguards against any attempt by a religious group to gain political authority. And it's not fail-safe, mind you. They believed that it would kill that spiritual notion. And that beggars a question I've been asking a lot lately. What is this thing called love? Surely it's an overflow of passion and emotion, an electric touch. But it's not just a falling of head over heels. Love is a commitment to causes, a dedication to ideals, sacrifice, and the satisfaction that comes with that which we give up. It's been said often that love and freedom are inseparable. There can't be one without the other. If you mix in power and politics, it gets dangerous. Surely it's necessary at times, I know that. But the reason politics is dangerous is that more often than not, as Andrew Sullivan said, it hinges upon the control of others rather than the reform of oneself. Among the founders, Thomas Jefferson was the most passionate supporter of separation of church and state, or as we call it, secularization. His own faith was a pure and simple one, straight from the Gospels. Love one another, love your enemies, forgive those who harm you, give up power over others. And Jefferson insisted that those four beliefs are not only central to the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth, they're at the core of every faith. The man who gave us the Declaration of Independence believed that the purpose of freedom was to allow each and every one of us to discover our own ways, free from the interference of other folks' ways. Apolitical religion allows us to discover the depths of our own beliefs, or the lack thereof. Doubt is not a sign of weakness among believers or non-believers. A few years back, a student of mine gave me a book to read on the subject, by Claiborne. In it, the author poses quite the question. He asked if we would follow these core beliefs even if there were no heaven or hell. Food for thought. History teaches us the grim truth of religion. Fused with politics and power, it's given each generation wars and inquisitions, pogroms and purges, reformations and counter-reformations. If we go back a ways, we find America is the product of centuries of debate over the hypothetical purpose of government. The ancient Greeks and Romans had their ideas, including consent of the governed and democracy itself. The American idea got rolling about 400 years ago, when the scientific revolution triggered an intellectual one. It was founded upon natural rights and the individual's capacity for self-improvement, free will. We called it the Enlightenment, when reason became the organizing force of knowledge. Ah, those were the days. At the center of the Enlightenment is the debate over human nature. Are people good or bad? Can people behave themselves? Can people take care of each other? Are people smart or stupid? Let's look at that argument, shall we? You got to start with Thomas Hobbes. He said people are mostly bad. They can't behave themselves. They won't take care of each other. And for the most part, they're stupid. Mr. Warmth, huh? Hobbes believed that humans are born free, but we're basically bad, so we need a government to keep us in line. A military dictatorship. Without it, life would be nasty, brutish, and short. But enough about me. And although John Locke agreed with Hobbes about being born free, he was much less pessimistic about our nature. Locke believed that humans were neither good nor bad. We just got in each other's way. Human nature is neutral, he thought, and people are products of their environment. We need a government to sort out our competing interests, and that government should act as a referee. Now, Thomas Jefferson agreed with Locke on many things, but to Locke, self-interest is the only motive for human behavior. And Jefferson believed there was more, probably getting those ideas from the Scottish Enlightenment. He rejected the notion that humans are simply neutral. Jefferson embraced the idea of a moral sense. We have an inner voice or conscience, and his own conscience haunted him throughout. Lincoln said 80 years later, "When I do good, I feel good, and when I do bad, I feel bad." That about sums it up, don't you think? The big problem then and now is power, because power ultimately requires at least a threat of violence, and violence is incompatible with love. Power is about control, and of course, so is politics. Back to the First Amendment. The minute religion becomes politicized, it departs from itself. The moment we are compelled to believe something or practice something, religion loses its way. It separates from love, that which comes from within. Choosing to receive the sacraments lets me experience the holy, the sacred. But I am not forced to do so. It is my choice. There's a good story about Rick Rubin taking communion with Johnny Cash because he asked him to. This is why separation of church and state is essential. Secular does not mean atheistic. It is the belief in separating the spheres of faith and politics. So each of us can explore our beliefs. I believe within is a divine spark. You cannot lose it. You may lose track of it, but it's always in there. Ever since your first breath, or so thought St. Thomas Aquinas, Aristotle. Together, the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause in the First Amendment guarantee protections against established religions gaining political authority. That was worth repeating. The belief in separating the spheres of faith and politics is really what this is about. Andrew Sullivan defined secular as the ability to be faithful in the religious space and reasonable in the political one. Now, if we cannot see with our own eyes, if we fail to recognize the true meaning of that flag we fly, what freedom really is, we just might let it slip on by. Already, some may well have lost her. Beware, for license is liberty's impostor. remembering my Father's words again, is it not the act of choosing to give of yourself the purest meaning of love? And so then it is the drive, the push, the shove toward freedom. Beyond self-reliance, beyond free agency lies liberty. And it seems to me that there in love's pursuit and nowhere else we are set free. There in love's pursuit and nowhere else we are set free. Fair winds